Warm welcome to all of you present here on behalf of Mohammadi Welfare Association. I would also like to express our gratitude to our esteemed presenters today who have accepted our invitation and sharing knowledge with us tonight. So to start the seminar, I would request Ali Mustafa to come please forward and recite Quran. A loud salawat, please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Slides, please. So today we're going to start this seminar. As you can see that the duration is 80 minutes and we have 3 presentations with 20 minutes each for each speaker. And then there will be 20 minutes for question and answer at the end. So the format is that all the 3 presenters are going to present their presentations. And then if you have any questions, please keep it with yourself. And you can ask it at the moment when we go for the question answer session. All the speakers will be here and they will be happy to respond to you. Be careful that when you're asking questions, please format your questions before you ask. It should be precise, and to the speakers that the answer should also be precise, so we can finish each question in like 2 minutes approximately, so more people can have opportunity to ask questions. Why we are having this seminar? If you see on the top, these are the windows of our homes. This is what we share as families. Kids are using tablet, internet, mobile, laptops, and screens, gamings, and everything. So technology has become an integral part of children's lives, and it's important to understand the implications of this. While technology can be beneficial for kids, it's important for parents to be aware of the potential risk associated with it, such as ever-increasing screen time, cyberbullying, and online predators. By understanding the potential risk and benefits of technology, parents and educators can help children use technology safely and responsibly. And this is the main objective of the seminar today. We aim to address the challenges and present solutions for parenting in the digital world. We have 3 presenters today: Dr. Syed Urfi Hashmi, Dr. Heather Naqvi, and Brother Muhammad Naqi Khaki. The first presenter I would like to invite Dr. Syed Fazle Hassan Urfi Hashmi. His topic is screen addiction and its impact on kids' psychology and behavior. Dr. Hashmi has an extensive experience of more than 20 years in research and analysis, and at the moment he is working as senior lecturer and quantitative researcher at University of New England. Please welcome Dr. Urfi Hashmi with a loud salawat.
Can we just put the system on screens? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. وأهل البيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتخبين المظلومين. أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المبين والقرآن الحكيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Thank you so much, brothers and sisters, for your arrival here. Well, I'll start with a very little point. Once the Pope, Pope doesn't get married. Once the Pope was asked to deliver a lecture on population control, and while he was in the audience was military men of United States, so American soldiers. Now the Pope was delivering a lecture and saying again and again, population control is this, population control is this, don't go for that, and this sort of thing. Suddenly a military man stood up and said, Pope, what the hell are you talking about? Population control is this, population. If you don't know how to play the game, then you don't have right to make the rules. This is an interesting point, brothers and sisters. Like those who are actually, those who have organized this seminar, those who are presenting, those who are participating, they're talking about something that have an adverse effect on their lives as well. We all are, unfortunately, the affectees of screen addiction. So let me first say that before we, blame our kids, let's take this view that it's just not kids, but also we are responsible, because every gadget, every device, every mobile phone that comes to our home, we fund it. And second thing is that parents give a consequence. When you talk about the consequences, you need to evaluate whether it is coming from your brain and you want these consequences, these adverse effects to be realized by the heart of your kids. Is it you are actually speaking from the brain and you want them to take it on the heart? It doesn't make any sense. Its reflection is that what you are doing, that is what you believe is right. And when you actually ask the similar thing to your kids, not to do that, is it okay or not? The third thing is, it's your home. Why you are asking, why are you putting blame on your kids? It's your home, it's your system. You are the decision makers. You are the organizer of the resources, time resources, financial resources, and everything. So when you are setting up the rules, these are the rules that are guiding your kids. So there are loopholes, there are problems, there are issues. You are not able to fix it, and now you are blaming your kids. So let's first take the responsibility as parents that it's not an major issue of kids. Primarily, it's an issue where we have contributed more than our kids. Then another thing is addiction behavior, it's a bad thing? This is a fundamental question, and I'll be very quick. Do you allow me to just come here because it's working? So I'll be just here and it's very easy for me. Is it? So is it really bad? Addiction is pretty much which is with all of us. It's innate. It's natural. And look at the creations. Take the example of honeybee. It is addicted to go to those areas where it finds itself that it can get the nectar and all. She would do the same thing again and again and again and again. So it's natural. When you give a birth to a baby suddenly comes to you for its feed, and this is something that the baby does for almost 2 years. And likewise, there are so many examples where addiction is innate, and in some cases it's necessary. Without it, you can't survive. So addiction per se is not bad. However, but it can also be problematic if it is induced. If it is induced in a way that it doesn't align with the natural system. For example, I've just given some examples. So these are some abnormal, unnatural, and non-innate phenomena. So technically, when it comes to the screen addiction, which is a type of an addiction, It is not the natural addiction, number one. So it's not something that is considered as natural phenomena. It's unnatural. It's not aligned with the natural system. But most of the people, they want to talk about the effects of skin addiction, while we need to understand the cause. If you just trim some of the leaves, they're not going to work. You need to really understand what the reasons are, what's the cause behind that is generating the effects. So first understand, how does it work? So you always have some hormones, and these hormones motivate you, but the capability of these hormones to motivate you depends on the external stimulus, some signal from your external environment. For example, there are so many examples you see when you are, in the stage of the puberty. You see the opposite sex and it develops some sort of action tendency. Sometimes you see some snake and it actually is an external stimulus, external signal to you that comes with the action tendency, escape from this place. And likewise, sometimes there are certain external stimulus which generate anger in you, and anger actually motivates you to take certain action. It could be problematic for the society, other times it's good. So it is pretty much like that. Now understand that when external stimulus comes to you and you see it through your sensorial, parts, what happens next? That's the front part, which is called. So what happens? For example, there are certain hormones in your brain. Your brain releases certain hormones. For example, for anger, it's adrenaline and cortisol. For love, oxytocin, and for the sex, androgens for the male. And likewise, when it comes to the achievement and pride or gratification, which is all that you have got something, then there is a particular hormone that is released from the front part of your brain, and that is dopamine. So is it dopamine that actually gives you a message? We need more gratification. We need more achievement. We need something more. It gives us pleasure, more and more and more. So what's the problem? What happens? You see, if I could put, like the little small balls, red balls, it catches, literally this works. I've seen the videos. So what happens that these little hormones, they come to the receptors. When the receptors are filled with these hormones, like your brain says, I've got the gratification. If it doesn't work this way, then what would happen? You will feel that something is missing and you would go for it. The people who look at the screen, if they, when they see the things, once they click on a certain movie or short clip or whatsoever, if they get what they wanted, then what happens? It gives them the, satisfaction, gratification, happiness, and these sort of things. And what happens? You really want more and more happiness and more happiness, and then it keeps on going. But what happens if it doesn't work that way? If you don't get these things, then you are experiencing the tension in your mind. And it further motivates you to explore further resources. So this is the first, link. You move on to the next one to get the achievement that gives you happiness. And then once you do these things several times a day, what happens? Your brain learns that achievement is easy to achieve. Happiness can be achieved very easily. So the next day, then the next week, and then the next month, if the routine is the same, the brain learns that this is what I need every time, because it gives me achievement, the pride, the happiness, and these sort of things. So this is how it works. And that's why those who look at the screens, they either try to find out something that actually give them the sense of achievement, gratification, or pride, or if it doesn't work that way, then the anger and these sort of things, negative emotions, they develop, and they ask them to move on and explore the further resources. Either way, they keep on, focusing on the screen to either get the achievement or to pursue the achievement. So look at that, what dopamine does. Dopamine regulates motivation, tells the brain, this feels good, I want more. And then again, further establishes reward pathways, which are important. Brain feels that it's the right thing, I'm here to do that. And then further, deficiency may cause a lack of motivation and muscle tremor. Now, when you keep on getting the achievement and happiness through the screen, then the brain believes that you don't need to go and get anything outside of the screen. So that's why many of the kids who are screen addicted, they don't find any other pathway to get the achievement. They are poor performer in the school, not because of they don't want to study, because they believe that the saturation has come. For the past week, we've already achieved what we wanted to achieve. If you would put them to a sport, they will be the average or the performer that we don't want, the level. And again, they won't go for that sort of thing. So this is important. Now, this was the cause. This is primarily the reason why kids get stuck with the screen and why they don't want to go to the other environment and other context to get the achievement. So they are lower performer, or their performance is almost zero, because they already achieve everything through the screen, and that's what their brain that tells them that you don't need any achievement outside the screen. It is enough for you to have the achievement. And the amount of hormones that you need to have in different contexts. For example, when you study and when you study well, you get the position, you need to achieve certain level, and you have achieved it. What happens? These hormones usually transmit, neurotransmitters. They transmit. What happens, like if you have lost your capacity? There's a natural system that diversification is important for this transmitter. Why? Because God has created the body in a way that sometimes you would achieve the things when you will be climbing on a mountain. Sometimes you are playing sporting. Sometimes you are doing something different. Sometimes you speak and your speech is recognized. So there are 1 million different contexts, and the brain has been created to enjoy this achievement in different contexts, just not in one context. So what happens? You close the tunnel. It becomes the tunnel from where these neurotransmitters actually transmit. The brain always believes that that's the screen and that's the only way that you could get these hormones. So now look at that. Some of the age group. Look at 13 to 17. 73% people of this age, they are addicted to the screen. 71%, 18 to 24%, and 25 to 34. So I would consider the first two. Look at that, it's almost 3/4. It means 3 kids out of the 4 kids, they are addicted to the screen, and it's a non-natural addiction. Move on. Some more facts. 41% of the parents of 12 to 15 find it hard to control their child screen time. They don't feel that then the child has reached to that level where it cannot. There's a truth. And then further, 96% of the children, they spend more than 15 hours a week watching online content. 1 out of the 3 kids, they are actually using the screen, and they are. Likewise, these are some of the statistics we must know. There are so many studies that highlight that many of these screen addicts, they experience, unfortunately, very eye strain is one of them, being more informed. They believe that they're being more informed. However, that information actually does not give them any benefit. Further, not getting work done, that is another consequence. Feeling more connected, trouble paying attention, wider worldview. So they believe anxiety, back issues, feeling. There's a stream of research that talks about the adverse effect. I don't want to waste time, but you all know about this, and the screen addiction has problems. However, can we really do that? 365 days of no screen, is it possible? So tell me, just do you think it is possible? How many of us believe that it is possible to stay away from the screen? Just raise your hand. Is it possible? So this is something that is important. We can't just, I'm just leaving things. We can't just say that our kids are not going to touch the screen for the next year. So we can't hate the issue. We can't just disassociate ourselves from this issue. We need to manage it. We need to deal it. So look at that. Babies, ideally what should happen, that the babies shouldn't be exposed to the screen, 0 to 18, and that's the reverse. It would predict your next segment. If you give a screen to your kids while, you want some free time or they are eating or whatsoever, it would predict the usage of their screen time, which can increase to 5 times to the next stage when they need only 1 hour. Likewise, if none and 1 hour, it's been gone to 3 hours, so the next stage would be almost 7 to 8 hours, and likewise, it's an exponential effect. So there are a few things that we can do, my brothers and sisters. We can set a time. It's our home. You are the decision maker. You are the organizer. Set a time. Change. Things are not going to change in a day. Change it gradually. And then finally, act as an example to your children. When you are using a screen for 8 hours, it doesn't work. Quran says that don't actually say something that you are not doing. It loses the effect. I promise it loses the effect. And then when you buy the gadgets, you need to understand that there could be some adverse effect on your kids. So before you buy the very new version of a mobile, understand what's happening. You are not using the latest features. Your kid would definitely do that. And then some more stuff. Introduce more engaging alternatives. Take them to the Imam Barga, but don't give them the mobile so that they just sit outside and do what they were doing at the home. Likewise, social gathering. Go to your friends, but go to those friends whose kids are not using mobile. Be choosy in terms of selecting your friends and relatives. Likewise, introduce new hobbies. Go to the gardens. Go to the gardens. Ask them to just plant. And likewise, changes happen gradually. Devise some games which you can do easily. For example, sand pendulum, which triggers their mind to think other way around, other than the screen. What's happening? I haven't seen that. Oh my God. So if I turn it, that sand comes here. If I do that, if they are more engaging with these sort of games, that would help them to stay away from the screen. Likewise, hopping number lines. When you put the number lines and it's just not the motor neurons, but also their thinking neurons. They actually come at play. Likewise, spend time with your skill. That is the super important thing. When you are with them, and if you are not on a mobile, then equation will work. So, early interventions, a last point. Remember, if you're thinking that you would do it tomorrow, do it tonight. That's the call. That is the most important thing. It's not gonna get anywhere. The myth is that it would fix automatically. It's a myth. The fix is it's artificial and it will go away. Myth. The myth is that someone else would do it. The Imam Barga would do it. School would do it. No, it's not. It's a myth. And the last thing is that I'll keep on using the gadgets and mobile, and my kid would get the guidance from the Quran and namaz and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a myth. These are some of the resources. You can take the slide that would provide you some sort of a science of the addiction. Plus, we talked about the effects. We also went through some of the strategies. And these are some of the very helpful things. Thank you so much. Jazakumullah. Yes,
Thank you so much, Yusuf. Right on 20 minutes. Thank you so much. Just on the data that Urfi Bhai presented when I was preparing for the slides, there is a website called GIT NUX, NUX, and there is plenty of data on the trends, and especially trends among the children and teens. And how to say that? I choose not to present it here, and it was only because it's so eye-openers especially for the parents who say that the kids is too small for these kind of activities. So I'm not presenting here, but all the parents, I request you please go to the GIT NUX. It will take the whole article takes around 15 minutes for the reading, And if you don't have that much time, don't go through the normal writings, just go to the bullet points, and you will see what contains kids are watching from age 4 to 18. And when you go to age 4 to 14, it's an eye-opener for us. I'm not presenting here it only because Anis taste na lag jaye aap beano ko. And you will find this very useful data here. Our next presenter is our own Dr. Haider Naqvi. He is going to talk about, let me open his presentation. TIT and UX. Dr. Haider Naqvi is going to talk about medical and health impacts of this screen time. Our presenters, being very humble, none have provided their professional profile, but whatever I could get from LinkedIn and some other resources. Dr. Haider is a consultant respiratory and sleep physician. He's also co-joint lecturer, Western Sydney University, and of course, he's ex-president, Mohammadi Welfare Association. Please welcome Dr. Haider Naqvi with a loud salawat.
Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. That's okay. I'm fine. इसके स्लाइड में डालिएगा. Change it. All right. So thank you so much, Urfi Bhai, for excellent presentation. Hopefully, inshallah, next 20 minutes or so, I will summarize only few of the medical effects of screen time. I've used the word screen time that includes mobile phone, video games, TV, laptop, anything what's included. So that's what it turned into. We've come a long way. I'm not sure who will remember the mobile phone right on the left side. And now I'm not sure where we are going to head to. There are so much, this is now become a part of our life. So think what I'm going to hopefully discuss towards the end is how to best manage it and how to avoid those health implications. You don't want to be on the left side of the screen. There are problems there. What we want to see is when you have an evening meal time, and everyone in this busy life should have one meal time as a family together. And that meal time is part when you sit and discuss with your parent, with your spouse, with your kids, how the day has been. So there's a problem there. When there's a meal time, the family is here, but look, everyone is on the mobile phone. So this is the most important takeaway message. When you're sitting having a meal, there should not be any gadgets. On the right side, they're all having fun with the family. So 3 or 4 things I'm going to discuss how the social media or how the screen time is going to affect us. The most important part of our body, you can say is heart or brain or eye. I'll start with the eye and how the research has told us what the screen time is affecting our eye. You may have heard of this word called myopia, otherwise nearsightedness. It's a very common condition. All the kids who are wearing glasses, they can see something which is very close to them. They can't see something very far. So what happens is naturally when we see a distant object, the light passes through different media of our eye, and all it makes a focus at the back chamber of the eye, which is called retina. And that makes an image and takes it to the brain. What happens in people or patients, those who have myopia or nearsightedness, that image is formed right in front of the retina. It is becoming a global health problem. It is expected that over 5 billion people by 2050 will have nearsightedness or myopia. It can result in irreversible impairment of the vision in future. So this is something which we really have to look on how to minimize this. So if you or your child presents with this sign where they can't see the whiteboard or a blackboard or whichever kind of board is being used, they're squinting, they're rubbing their eyes, that means think whether they may have nearsightedness or myopia that needs to be checked, that needs to be investigated. Look at what the screen time, how the screen time plays a role in the causing of nearsightedness. Very important paper, recently published 2021. We know that we come from COVID restrictions where lockdown was really enforced and we could not go out and kids were attending homeschooling. This is a study on vision of the children between age 6 to 13. Very large group, over 100,000, 123,000. They were getting their eye checked for 6 years from 2015 to 2020. And what they found, interesting finding, not interesting, but obviously it's not unexpected. Between age 6, the incidence of myopia was 21% in 2020 versus 5.7% in the years before. It's almost tripled. Age 7, 26.2%, 16% in the years before. Age 8, at 37.2%, 27% years before. We keep this in mind. The eye development is happening from birth until 8 to 9 years. So that is the critical part. When those kids were exposed to any kind of screen time, there was more risk of, obviously, myopia. So what these authors concluded, quarantine appeared to be associated with more risk of myopia between age 6 to 18 years, 6 to 8 years. There's another study that also showed more than 5,000 children. They looked at the screen time, near work, and also incidence of myopia. What was the outcome? This was a increased computer usage. Between age 6 to 9 years, more risk of developing this condition. This is, again, studies on the use of smartphones. We discussed the screen time, TV, and then the smartphones. Again, published very recently. What's shown, the smartphone usage independently associated with the risk of myopia. And this is shown in all across the board, from primary school to the high school to the university. So when I looked at the university students, when there were even more data uses and more hours usage, there were more risk of myopia anyway. So what can we do to slow the progression down? This is again another study coming from China. So very interesting intervention they've done. They took grade 2 school children and they were randomly selected. Either you're going to receive an SMS, or other group, they were not getting any SMS. And what the SMS was? That you have to take your kids out. That's only SMS. Interestingly, after the conclusion of the study, what they found, myopia was lower in the SMS group. So those parents, when they received SMS, take your kids out, when the parents were taking the kids out, the risk of myopia was much less than nearsightedness. Gives a very important message. So when you're staying indoor, you're on your mobile phone, on using the same time, the risk of myopia was high. When they take the kids out, risk was really low. So what we should, other study, and this is very important, is also from a grade 1 to 12, it's from grade 1 to 12, it was many primary schools. What they instructed the teachers and the parents that spend 40 minutes extra outdoor activities, only 40 minutes per day. Whatever they were doing, 40 minutes per day. When they spent 40 minutes outdoor activities, there was 23% reduction in the risk of myopia over the next 3 years. So we already know the answer. We already know what caused this and how best to prevent that. Next, I'm going to talk about from eyes to the sleep. This is my specialty, as Brother Abbas told. So how the screen time affects your sleep. As we all know, sleep is very important for our daily activities. It should be on an average, the child, when they're born, within 1 year, I hope you can see it, they should have 14 to 17 hours of sleep. When they're toddler, 12 to 16 hours. Then it means 11 to 20, 11 hours, 16 hours, especially when they are going to school. Their sleep time should be around 10 hours or so, and an adult 7 to 8 hours. So that's all being recommended. You want your kids to stay in the blue, not in the yellow, because there are more problems when you are in the yellow. And see what the screen time does to your sleep. Whenever anyone, all of patients come and see a sleep physician, this is kind of thing we always give, that what should happen. This is healthy sleep habits coming from American Thoracic Society, very well studied. Allow enough time to sleep. That's how to get a good sleep. Do not watch TV or listen to the music in the bed. Avoid electronic gadgets such as TV, computers, smartphones, video games, bright light at least 60 minutes before the bedtime if you want to get enough sleep. So see what happens. This study is published, it came from New South Wales in Australia, I think about 8 to 10 years ago. They looked at the use of electronic devices during the last hour. So I said there should not be any electronic devices used 1 hour before going to bed. So what happens is almost, sorry, it's not really clear on my screen, that's why I'm looking back. So in the boys and the blue, girls and the blue and boys are in the yellow. I think that's what it is, yeah, and the green. So almost PC use was 80 to 90%. Cell phone, again, 80 to 90%. MP3 player, iPad, console, TV. Quite a bit of high usage of these smartphones, these electronic gadgets, just 1 hour before going to bed. Same thing happens is also average screen time, girls and boys in youth. So total screen time is up to 6 hours or so when we said it has to be less. So very high screen times. What happens? So this is very important. I just want all our mothers to pay attention to this as well. This also published recently. What is the association of screen time and sleep in kids under 5? What happens when they're exposed to screen time? When they do, they've got shorter total sleep duration, more night awakening, really disturbed sleep, longer sleep onset latency, longer time it takes for them to fall asleep, lower sleep quality, and also evening screen time when they use just before bedtime, they have got again the similar effects are shown on their sleep quality, which is amazing. So what are the long-term effects of sleep deprivation? Then I want you to just pay attention to this. If I've already shown you how much sleep do we all need. So if the sleep duration is less, you can have any of these problems. There's problems, sorry, I can't see it here. Memory issues, mood changes. No, understand why Fubai was using that anyway. Immunity, more risk of infections, risk of diabetes, risk of heart disease, affects fertility, high blood pressure, accident, trouble thinking and concentration. So sleep is very important. What we were talking about sleep when you have got belief, not when you don't have the belief anyway. So coming back to this, what is blue light? I'm sure you may have already heard about the blue light and how it affects this thing. Blue light is one of the highest intensity type of vision light with very short wavelengths, and that produces a high amount of energy. This high energy visible light corresponds to a wavelength range between 400 to 500 nanometers, and it affects our eyes as well. Blue light has got huge effect on our sleep. So keep this thing on. Blue light stimulates the brain, makes us feel alert, elevates body temperature and heart rate, and during the day, blue light improves performance and our circadian rhythm. The most important source of blue light is sun. But imagine, think of these things. These are all objects that also emit blue light. It could be lights, LED lights, smartphones, TV, computer screens, tablets, e-readers, and they all have effect on can emit blue light. So what happens if we are exposed to blue light just before going to bed? Our body has got, brain has got one tiny thing called pineal gland, which is sitting right in the center base of the brain. Pineal gland secretes important hormone or enzyme called melatonin. And melatonin important that regulates our circadian rhythm. So what is circadian rhythm? How is our 24-hour clock is gonna tick, and how we gonna do? What is our wakefulness time? What is the midday? What's the evening time? Since the pineal gland, so whenever our eye is exposed to sunlight, it suppresses the melatonin release from our pineal gland. And then the evening, pineal gland becomes active and there's more melatonin. And see what melatonin does to us? It regulates our circadian rhythm. So wake up time, bedtime, sleep time, what time we should go to bed, what time we should go at night. And this is very important thing, what I want you to here pay attention. As we go to bed, 2 hours after bedtime, our melatonin rises and it peaks just around here, around midnight or so. And soon after midnight, the melatonin is dropping. And just before the sunrise, melatonin has really dropped. So that's how it regulates our total sleep time. But what we do is how we change our nature. We expose blue light here, just going to bed, and we shift whole cycle. When the creator has created and he has put this system, what we do is we make this system a bit of disorganized, and that changes our circadian rhythm. So imagine whenever we are exposing to our blue light, what is going to happen. And this amazes me. Just before the sunrise, melatonin is down. What means we are awake, we are alert. And just after sleep, the melatonin is high. What happens? That it means we are sleeping. And melatonin is hours before that. This is amazing how the creator, when he said this, that what you need to do first thing in the morning, he has already created us to do these things anyway. Okay? So just pay attention how we are going to change our nature and how we're going to affect the melatonin release and how the circadian rhythm is going. I'm a doctor, so I should stick to that anyway. So there's so much literature that electronic media use in sleep in children is going to affect that. Evening use of light-emitting e-readers, they negatively affect our sleep, our circadian rhythm, and next morning alertness, and also our daytime function. So when we don't get enough sleep, daytime function really decreases. So in the next 5 minutes or so, we're going to talk about screen time and incidence of obesity. Obesity is a huge problem. I hope we all know what our body mass index is. If you know what obesity is, check your height in kilogram and weight in kilogram, height in square, and see that will just check, that will tell how obese we are. And BMI, body mass index more than 30, that is classified as obesity. Or other thing we can do is check our weight circumstance. And I want all of you to please check that when you go home tonight. So weight circumstances, you find your iliac bones. These are the bones, hip bones. And that's where you put your tape measure. And please check it, not at the end of inspiration, but when you have breathe out and then check. Not like this. Breathe out and check it. So if your waist circumference is more than 40 inches or 102 centimeter, there's more risk of cardiovascular disease. If it is in a women, it is more than 88 centimeter or more than 35 inches. That's what we need to do. So what happens, childhood obesity and is also very prevalent. This is coming from Australia. What it shows is about 1 in 3 people, kids, they are, if they're 2 to 5 years, 6 to 11, and 12 to 19, really high risk of obesity. This, we call it obesity pandemic. Every third child has got either overweight or they're obese. And it's also, it's a global problem. And obesity in adults is also very important, is common as well, almost 30% in every age group. So initially I showed you slides, what happens if you're not getting enough sleep and how it affects the whole body. If anyone is obese, you can have any of these things. Increased risk of depression, obstructive sleep apnea, more risk of liver disease, kidney failure, skin fold rashes, joint disease, cancer, infertility, muscle and joint problem, gastroesophageal reflux disease, stomach problem, increased risk of heart attacks, so anything. So we really have to take measures to avoid this thing. How the screen time plays a role. This is another important study. More than 9,000 participants, they're all 45 years and above. So if the screen time, that includes TV or anything, 0 to 1 hour, obesity risk was 15%. And if it is more than 8 hours a day, look at the prevalence, 27.6%. It's almost double. So how the screen time plays this role in our risk of obesity. Another thing, those individuals, so we all think that, look, if I play badminton once or twice a week, I'm not going to get obese. So this is another thing, they looked at this thing, even those who have got more physical activity and they still have got more screen time, there was still risk of obesity was high. So what they say, if you got low physical activity and low screen time, you are equal if you got high physical activity or high screen time. So if you still have got more screen time, the risk of obesity is really high. Very direct correlation. So what are the long-term, so this is evidence of update relationship. So what is the long-term effects of screen time? So this is in the kids. I've talked about adults. Now we're talking about the kids. So they looked at those kids who had a screen time of 5 to 15 years of age. Even at the age of 26 to 30s, there's a longitudinal study. So if the kids who are watching screens between age 5 to 15, at the age of 26 to 30, more kids were obese. What is the reason behind it? Decreased physical activity, decreased metabolism rate, because you're sitting there, you're all consuming food and nicotine, and also affects the sleep. That's the reason screen time is a problem. Screen time also affects on our cognition. I've got only a few slides, brothers. And how to manage, only a few slides. So I think one thing very important, if this digital A was not here, I would not have been able to prepare this presentation within 2 days or so. It would have taken me months to get all the references. So there are benefits in this thing, but best is to get the benefits and avoid the risk. And that's what we want to have a look at it anyway. So screen time is not as bad. I had to look at the computer to get all the references anyway. How to manage? So no screen, Brother Urfi Hashmi also presented this. Kids under 2 years are not allowed to watch any screen at all. This is no. Sorry to our mothers, respectful mothers. So if a child is crying, you can't put the TV on or some kind of Tom and Harry cartoon. Okay, you are not quiet, I'm going to feed you. No, this is not the way it is. So less than 2 years, they're going to harm the kids in future. So they should not be. This is no. So that's the most important thing. Not more than 1 hour per day of screen time. That includes TV and everything. I did not talk about the content. Content is a different thing. So 2 to 5 hours, and no more than 2 hours per day for age 5 to 17. And that shows in adults as well. This is coming from all the guidelines. I hope we all understand. And how do we discuss about myopia? I've got 2 or 3 more slides. Spend time outdoors. We know that research, even 40 minutes of extra outdoor activities really helps and decreases the risk of myopia. Reduce near work activities and take a break after 60 to 90 minutes. Go out, ask the kids to go out, look at the greenery, look at the distant objects. Those things are really helpful. Tips for good night's sleep. We all think sleep is important, but we say we can't sleep. Bedtime, have a routine bedtime. Look at what our body is telling us. What is the melatonin secretion time, when it should go up, when it should go down. Go to sleep and wake up at the same time. 30 minutes of daily exercise. Use bed for sleeping only. There should not be any TV, mobile phone, electronic gadgets in the bed. Bed should only be for sleeping. If you're not sleeping, then you shouldn't be in bed. Early morning light exposure, very important. So especially those families who come from overseas, they say we can't wake up in the morning. Early morning light exposure, so wake up before the sunrise. and that regulates our rhythm. What you shouldn't do, avoid eating big meals 2 hours before going to bed. There has to be a wind down period time. Turn off any screen, including TV, mobile phones, laptops, and tablets 1 hour before the bedtime. Avoid nicotine in the evening, I would say throughout the day anyway. So as I said, it has to be at the screen time or the digital media. It's giving us quite a bit of information, but everything has to be in moderation. So there are benefits, but if you use it within the moderation, this is if you spend too much or spend less. So you have to be in the middle, and that's what it comes from. Moderation is the key to success. I did not write the name of where it came from because I could not verify the source, but said it's come from Imam Ali alayhi salam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Thank you so much, Dr. Haider Naqvi. Before I call our next presenter, who is going to present us protecting your child online, just a quick reminder that these subject matter experts who is talking, and they are in our community. Actually, we are very fortunate to have these subject matter experts. And being a Muslim, being Shia, it's a sense of the community that we share knowledge and we share experiences. I'm sure that you all and we all going to take something good out of the seminar, and we're going to implement in our daily life. Let me tell you that we normally say that people don't really study religion because we are born Muslims, so we don't study. I would say it's very rare that we being parents study how to be a good parent. And if I say that it could be probably the rarest of education we do, it could be true. The next presenter is Brother Muhammad Naqi Khaki. He owns a very successful media company, and he is a frequent speaker at the religious institutions in Sydney. And he's going to talk about protecting our child online. This is a very important presentation because this is from a technical subject matter expert, and this is the actual game. Please welcome Brother Muhammad Naqi Khaki with a loud salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, dear brothers and sisters. Thank you for the invitation to present to you. I'm very conscious of the time, so I'll get right into it. This topic of protecting our children online is very, very important in the times that we live in, because you can see that there is a movement out there to capture the minds of our children. Okay? There is a movement out there. If I was to ask you right now, take your child, drive to the city, drop them in the city, your young child, no adult supervision, and drive back home, wait for 5 hours and go back to pick your child up. Yeah? So your child is roaming around the city for 5 hours. Would you, anyone here allow this to happen? Never, right? Maybe even if they're teenagers, you would think 10 times, where are you going? Who are you going with? Where will you be? How can I call you? What will you do? What shop? Don't go here. Don't talk to this person. You'll set complete boundaries, right? So why is it when it comes to technology that we do not set these boundaries? Because I'll tell you now, this device is a pathway, is a gateway into the World Wide Web, into the world, all right? We may not be aware of it for whatever reason, okay? But the kids these days, I'll tell you, they know a lot more than what we know, okay, when it comes to technology. So I want to start with this quick hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. So there are many hadith about, raising your children, but this one here, the Imam says, 3 rights for the child are incumbent upon his father. right? The first one, we're not going to talk about this one. Selecting a good mother for him, in other words, selecting a good spouse. Secondly, giving him a good name, right? It's very important. And the third one, right, which is our focus, and it's ever more important in the times that we live in, is exerting the utmost effort in raising him well. The utmost effort. Okay? Now we live in the West. Life is tough. Inflation, house prices, jobs, etc. It's very competitive nature, right? So are we putting our utmost effort into filling our bank or utmost effort into raising our kids? Okay? According to Imam, we have to be putting the utmost effort into raising our kids. Okay? The third point. And that's the reference, if anyone would like to look it up. And this book is also translated into English. So that's the first question I asked. So device is a gateway. This is fascinating. Okay, have you noticed that when you go to sydneymorningherald.com.au, for those of you who read the news, when you scroll through the headlines, where do you reach? The end of the news page. Yeah, so it might take you 5 minutes and you're done. You've reached the end and you close the screen and you go back to doing what you're doing. Have you noticed that Facebook does not have an end? Think about this. Instagram does not have an end. TikTok does not have an end. It wants you to stay there, and the doctors mentioned very nicely the points, the medical background behind this. They want you to be addicted. They want you to spend the most amount of time possible in these apps. This is how they're made, okay? And I'm not even going to go into content. That needs a whole new discussion. And there's a lot of evidence to suggest that they're creating games and apps and producing content catered for kids to completely pollute their minds, away from the moral ethics that we have been raised with. You know, what's okay today, 20 years ago, only 20 years ago was not okay, you know, but today it is okay. So as the doctors mentioned, technology and devices have a lot of positives and negatives. We need to provide our children with the tools, the knowledge and supervision to manage a balance. This is the key. We want to try and manage a balance, okay? Taking the device away, you know, like some of you may be motivated tonight, you know, you go home, that's it. Give me the iPad, give me the laptop, give me the phone, all nothing, right? The kids are laughing because they've probably heard this many times. And I've threatened my kids as well with this, you know? But you need to try and teach them, show them what the impacts are, okay? I'll give you one personal example. My son, he plays, so I have 3 kids, and my son is a teenager. He plays the Xbox, so he's into gaming, he loves it, you know? And during COVID, it really threw us out. Like these guys, and he'd meet up with his friends online. That was his way of socializing with his friends, playing online with his friends. And it made him very happy, you know? When school started, they started going back. I noticed that his grades were slipping. So he's playing Xbox just on the weekend, not weekdays. Weekends only, his grades are slipping, right? At the end of the term, he didn't perform well. He got a bad result. So I sat down with him. I said, what was the cause of this, right? So I don't know. I tried. I put effort in. What was happening? He'd say, okay, I have to study for an exam. He'd study for half an hour. He'd come out of his room and say, studied really hard, Baba. Okay. I want to play Xbox now, right? He's looking for that satisfaction. He's looking for that gratification, okay? So I let him. Grades are slipping, and I told him, I'm like, do you remember all these times? Now there's no Xbox in the term. There's no gaming, right? Oh, the last day of the holidays was like the day of Ashura with his friends. Yeah? He's like, oh, you know, he said, Ali, I'm not going to see you again. You know, what happened? 2 weeks only. He comes to me and he says, you know what, Baba, you were right. This was really good what you did, because I can now clearly focus on other things. This is the key. All right. So we hear about going outdoors, you know, sometimes you like, for For example, if you have a backyard at home, you tell your kids, go and play in the backyard. Why am I living in a house paying a big mortgage and, I bought you a big house and now you don't even want to use the backyard? Kids too busy on the computer, right? So we want to try and create some ways and techniques, okay? So believe it or not, everything I'm about to show you is free. It's available on Androids, on iPhones, on your laptop, okay? It's completely free. These companies are run by parents just like us who realize that we need tools to set boundaries, right, in managing this for our kids, okay? Because I'll tell you, as a parent, it's really difficult to be working, taking kids back and forth from school, sports, and then you have to manage one extra thing, which is the device. Put the iPad down. How long have you been on it? And you're constantly telling your kids off, all right? And it's really difficult amongst all the responsibilities that we have as parents, okay? So the devices have these tools inbuilt. I'm going to talk very quickly about Android phones. So there's an app called Family Link, okay? This is an app by Google, and you can basically manage their phone from your phone. And it also works on the iPhone, okay? So I don't know if you can see clearly. That's a screen on my phone of what I see, okay? So I've set a time limit of 1 hour and 30 minutes a day, and it's from 10:30 p.m. to 7 a.m. I probably need to change that after hearing Dr. Haider's talk, So basically, it helps you manage your children's accounts and devices as they explore online, okay? It's a really comprehensive app. I'll tell you, it's amazing. You can manage their screen time, and you set ground rules for your family, okay? Because if you give your child an unlocked device and you tell him, listen, don't play this, don't do this, don't watch bad things, don't go to YouTube, right? What's going to happen? They just need to go to school, and one of their friends is like, hey, did you see this? I banned YouTube years ago in my house. Years ago. Because I noticed that, okay, they're watching YouTube Kids, right? Have you ever, sometimes just sit and watch what your kids watch. See what they're watching. See what they're consuming. Grown men making videos of themselves playing with kids' toys. And it's a video for kids. What are we feeding our children? We have to be very careful of this. So you can set limits of how much time they can use the device down to each app. Down to each app. So for example, the Quran app has no limit. I tell him, you want to read Quran, 24 hours you can read it. Any time of the day, it's unlocked. You can set these sort of rules. But, a game, for example, is only 30 minutes. And it's only available at certain times. Okay? Age-appropriate content, this is really important as well. So you can, basically, every time your child wants to buy an app, it sends you a request on your mobile phone. Okay? So you get the request and you say, okay, I don't want you to play Fortnite. Okay? I'm not going to approve it. I'll decline it. And then you sit down and you speak to your child. This is why you can't play Fortnite. You have to have that discussion with them. It can't just be like a no, right? Maybe in our generation, when we grew up, a bit more old school style parenting, once your dad said no, that was it. You couldn't ask your dad why. If you ask why, you might see the back of his hand. That was the style of parenting. But today, you can't do that. You actually have to converse with your kids. You have to make them understand, It's that tough love that you have to do, and it takes a bit of time from our end. These things will take about half an hour max to set up. Half an hour only, okay? This is another very important one. You set a bedtime. At the bedtime, the device locks. Nothing works on it. Oh, but what if it's an emergency? No, don't worry. They can send you an SMS, but that's about it. Okay? All the apps are locked. Nothing works. All right? And the most important thing, you can disable Google and YouTube. I believe the Google search for kids is no good. They don't need Google search. You tell them, if you want to search for anything, no problems. Come and do it on my phone. Ask me for my phone and you can do it. But I'll also show you a way that you can see what they're searching for if they do need Google. Like teenagers for their school, they may need access to that. So this is on the Android. The other cool thing that I really like about this is you can see their exact location. You see the bottom right-hand corner, location. It actually shows you their exact location on the map. So if you have a teenage kid that goes out, for example, with his friends to the park, he's gone bike riding or, you can see exactly where he is, okay? Which is really, really cool. And there are many other apps out there. I think there's one called Live 360. You can link all your family members in the one app and you can see their movements throughout the day, okay? Obviously with their permission. Like a husband is not tracking his wife, vice versa. So it's suitable for all age children and youth. I personally also have set limits on my own usage. Okay, because the apps are designed to make you use them for hours. So like Facebook, for example. If you scroll on, like sometimes I have to use Facebook for work. But if I'm not using it for work, then I find myself sometimes just on it pointlessly. So I've set a limit. I don't want to spend more than half an hour a day on Facebook. That's too much. Okay? Twitter, if I'm following news or I'm following news, Twitter is actually beneficial because I use it for news, media, etc. Okay? So you can set these limits yourself. Remember, as parents, your kids are looking to you. They're looking to us for guidance. If they see like my parent doing something, then they're going to follow you. I had once a father come up to me, sidebar, and he told me, my son isn't praying anymore. Teenage son is not praying. He stopped praying. He's like, what do I do? He was worried, I said, how about this? When you pray at home, okay, just pray in an area that's a little bigger and you invite him. Put him a prayer mat and you say, come and pray with me, Ali. Let's pray together. Okay? So he looks at me and he says, the problem is, I don't pray. So it starts from us. Okay? It starts from us. Our kids are a reflection of ourselves and how we are in our natural state. Your kids become a reflection of you. Okay? Apple devices, again, it's an app called Screen Time. I like the Android one better because you can control it remotely from your phone, okay? But the Apple one, I've used this for years. It's inbuilt to the Apple device. You do not need anything to set it up. You then set a master pin, okay? It's called a Screen Time pin code. This is like a master key. You need a really strong code for this one. Because if your child finds the code out, they can change all the settings that you have, and it even tells you, like, my youngest kid uses an iPad, and sometimes I go into Screen Time and it says like 10 wrong passcode attempts, and I start laughing at him. I'm like, you'll never get this password, right? You have to set a strong password. Screen time limit. So again, how much time can they use their devices for? Down to each app. Set a bedtime where the device locks. Only apps that you approve will work. Again, in the Apple device, you can disable Google search. You can turn off the browser. You can turn off YouTube, okay? These are things that we need to use as parents, okay? You can restrict or allow them from downloading or deleting apps. You can even stop them from changing their passcode. It's unacceptable for a youth living in their parents' house to have a phone where he has a passcode and the parent doesn't know the passcode. Your parent should have your passcode. There should be a trust relationship with your parent. Your parent isn't going to just go through all your messages and say, hey, what's this? Okay, no, it's trust. My kids know my passcode. I should know their passcode too. Simple as that. You can see what their usage is down to specific apps. Sometimes I just show my kids, look how much time you spent online last week. Look at that. How could you be using this time in a better way? Remember, this isn't something that we can change overnight, right? These are behavioral changes that will take time. You need to just chip away at it. You have to keep working on it, okay? I went through that. So on laptops and PCs, this is another issue that we have living in 2023, is that kids need laptops at school. You know, how do you lock down a laptop? There are ways. So you can set up what's called Microsoft Family Safety. This is another app by Microsoft. Microsoft has made this. You create individual Microsoft accounts or members on each of their devices, and you set yourself up as the owner or manager. It is a bit technical, but there are videos out there that will explain the whole process to you and make it look like it's actually not hard to set up, okay? This allows you to control their laptop PC. Again, set time limits, approve or decline apps. You can block unsafe websites. You can block unsafe search as well. You know, so if your child, you know, goes and searches for God knows what, it will actually block it. And you'll get a report to say your child tried to search for this. And the child won't know that you know. Okay? Then how you manage it is up to you as a parent. Okay? You see their web activity. You see their searches. You can set up content filters. And you download it as an app. You know, so sometimes if my son wants more time on his laptop, he just sends me a request through his laptop. You know, and he's like, please, Baba, approve it. I have to finish my homework, for example. And you approve it. And best of all, it's free. We love free things. This is actually free. And it's not there's no ads in it. There's no hidden agendas in it. It's purely made for parents to manage screen time for their kids. And it's made by the companies that make the devices. So it is something that Muslims should use. Non-Muslims also do use this. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I have like very few minutes left. So with regards to gaming, social media, again, it's important to have a balance, real life activities, seeing people, going, playing sport, downtime. I know a lot of like sport activities, they take up our time as parents. Like my sons play soccer, you know, and I find myself, I'm just like a Uber driver for my kids after school, taking one kid here, another kid here, you know, like it's crazy, you know, but we have to do it. We actually have to, it's a sacrifice that we have to make for our kids' sake. And you'll see how it enhances their life as they're growing up. Remember, the hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, you have to make the utmost effort in raising your child, okay? So if it requires driving extra, more time after work, it's okay. You're doing it for a good cause. It's an investment. You're investing your time into your child. Is there any other better investment than that today? I would say not, okay? Another thing is that, you know, when the device gets locked, so for example, you set a time, right, limit, device gets locked. What does the kid then do? He comes to you and he says, what do I do now? So I don't know. I'm busy, I'm working. What are you going to do now? Right? You have the whole house. You have all these toys that I bought you. Go and do something. No TV, no screens at all. It's like you've locked them. You'll see their creativity start. It kicks in. You know, like I have 3 kids and I know that my youngest child, he's the quickest. You tell him no, he's like, he doesn't even argue. He doesn't even bother. He just goes off and he's busy then. And you see him playing with this and that, and you just tell him, you see how much fun you're having? You're right. Creativity, it sparks their creativity. My older son, he's the opposite. He'll just stand in the kitchen, he'll open the fridge, open the cupboard, eat a banana. He's eating all day, doesn't know what to do, you know? So lately he rides a bike. So I'll tell him, all right, go for a bike ride. He'll go for a bike ride. I can see where he is. I know exactly where he's gone. I go for bike rides with him. It's another thing you have to do, right? It's not enough to tell your kid, go and play in the backyard. No, you tell your kid, let's go play in the backyard together. Different parenting style to what we grew up with. Like when we grew up, it was all study, you know, become a doctor, become an engineer. Now it's like, no, play sport. You want to create that balance, right? You're trying to create that balance. Some games, they have violence. You have to make sure you're on top of the game. You know what the game is about. You know, like 10-year-olds playing Fortnite is not acceptable, okay? Online chats in games also need to be monitored. You can turn them off as a parent, okay? Some games allow that. Roblox is a very popular kids app. I'm sure the kids know about it. But unfortunately, Roblox has worlds or games that are built by adults. And sometimes these adults, they hide explicit content in the app. They hide it. You have to be aware of these things. You know, you might just look at the app and say, oh, it looks like a kid's app, should be fine. No, do a bit of research. You know, like when my kid comes and asks me, Baba, can I install an app? I'll tell him, what's the name of the app? He gives it to me. I'll go do my research then. I'll tell him, give me a few days, I'll think about it. Go do your research. Talk to your friends, right? Talk to other parents. Go on YouTube. See what other parents are saying, okay? Use that information to come up with a balanced response to your child. So when you tell your child, no, Baba, you can't have Roblox, you have to explain why. Why? This is why. This is the reason why. He won't say anything then. He can't say anything. He says, oh, but this kid has it and that kid has it and they all play together. I don't care who plays it. That's up to them and their parents. But I'm telling you now, Baba, this is not a good app. Pick any other app you can play, okay? Social media. So again, I'm going to put this on the do not go down this road, okay, for kids, especially TikTok, YouTube, Instagram for kids, not recommended. No good. All right. And there's a lot of, like, I've seen, right, the way the algorithms work in the apps, okay? They are designed to pollute your mind. Forget about kids, even us as adults. We should not be using TikTok. We should not be. You know, sometimes, like I have friends that they send links to videos on TikTok, right? Old guys like my age. Tell them, what are you doing in TikTok, brother? They say, oh, there's so many good videos, so many religious videos. I said, brother, if you want religion, come to the mosque. You don't need to go get it from TikTok. You know? Go to shiatv.net. Get specific content. Don't go and get your, religion from places like that. Another thing that we can do. So this is another layer of security. Okay? Like my kids, they look at me and they say, man, this guy is he's like those army generals. They have different layers you have to get through. Right? So, they're like, I got through this. Next is this. Next is that. They just keep running into a wall with me, right? It's so funny. This is something that they have no idea about. It's called a mesh Wi-Fi network. This basically controls your Wi-Fi at home. It's actually very, very cool. It sets up one network in your whole house. So you don't need a YouTube, like a Wi-Fi extender or anything like that. It's mesh Wi-Fi network. If you just Google it, they're very reasonable, like it's about $250 for a basic one. And it lets you set up, again, parental controls, limits. You can block your TV. Like if I see my kid watching TV, on my app, I'll just go block the TV. Then he's like, oh, the internet stopped working. And my wife starts laughing, right? What does he do? He can't fight he's fighting a losing battle. He'll turn the TV off and he'll go do his homework, for example. Sometimes you don't have the effort, you have the energy to actually tell your kids. So I just do it this way. So this is a mesh Wi-Fi network. There isn't a one-size-fits-all with these solutions. I'm just presenting them to you, and I guess it's up to you guys to see what works best, and what will be most effective with our families. We'll end with a short dua from Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam in Sahifa Sajjadiyah. There's a dua for children. It's another way that we can help our kids is to do dua for them. Oh Allah, help me in their upbringing, their education, and my devotion towards them. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Thank you, brother Mohammad Naki Khaki. It was definitely a great presentation, and there are a lot of takeaways for the parents. Technically, how to control the devices. I can see my son's worried face. Of course, 90 minutes. As an alternate activity, probably you will be making cupcakes next week. So we are gonna move ahead to the final part of the seminar. May I request the presenters please to take seats on the stage, and then we will open the stage for the audience to ask questions. I would highly appreciate if the questions are precise and you can ask the person you are asking the question. And to the presenters, I would highly appreciate if the answer can be within 1.5 minutes, so we can have as many questions as possible. The floor is yours. Just if you want to ask any question, just raise your hand and we're going to give mic to you at your place. Go ahead. Shabi.
Assalamualaikum. My question is from Dr. Heather. I think in his slide he just mentioned about impact on cognition. Is it cognition? Yeah, so can you just explain it, because you move it very fast from that slide.
So cognition basically is higher mental function. This is the development of the brain. I think there was a slide in cognition, but that's okay. It is in the judgment, how you're going to decide higher cortical functions such as judgment, decision making, management of the time, what you can do in a difficult situation. So these are the very part of the brain which kind of controls this. And there are so many studies. I briefly mentioned a screenshot that especially kids, and that's the reason we paid more attention to especially kids under 5 and then under 10. If there's more screen time, there's definitely their judgment, their interactions, how they're going to decide, their speech, that is going to be delayed. And then in turns later, that can also affect their performance at the school, how they're going to solve puzzles, calculations, learning new things, words, sentences, creativity. So this is all executive functions that are going to be affected and delayed, especially more screen time. It is also shown in kind of adults as well, that if you have got less total sleep time or delayed sleep time, not effective sleep, that can also have similar effect on your daytime function and your coordination and executive functions and planning. So that's the reason we have to take a holistic approach. That's what you said. 2 minutes.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Salam alaikum. My question is from both of you, Dr. Haider and Dr. Hashmi. As both of you mentioned that limitation in the screens, how it's going to practical in our life nowadays, when a person working from home and he has to work at least 4 to 6 hours on his screen. Okay. So all the kids who are going to school, at least they have more than 2 hour usage of a screen within the school with the laptops. How the educational system is going to accept that, and with all these things. And then this is just their usage in the school. When they're coming back to the home, they have to go assignments and homework, everything coming via internet now, an app now. They have to use it, no other way. So when there is essential to use it, kind of, what we can do to avoid the risk of usage of a screen? Thank you.
Jazakallah, I think there was one slide there. Means I mentioned if there was no screen in 2 days or 3 days notice. I know notice was a bit long, but I started preparing my presentation quite late. I would not have been able to come up with all these references. I would have to go to library, find a journal, speak to the librarian, say, oh, this journal is not available, come back next month, we have to get this booklet. And then you read it, you find one line. Even to search an ayah, I mean, that's what I said, it has to be moderation. So I kind of said what the tools we have to have. Even if you're at home, they say after 60 minutes, 90 minutes or 2 hours, always have a break. And try to have a break. Obviously, if you've got assignment to do next day or so, then you have to plan ahead. So it's not that next day's assignment, then today, tonight you have to do for 5 hours or so. So you have to plan ahead when the assignment is due. Then you have to spend a little bit of time every day so that you can plan. So after 2 hours, go out, play, 40 minutes or 1 hour of some exercise, and then come back and start researching again. So there are other tools as well which can emit the blue light. I think they're not really, they have not been studied that well. They've got a still blue light is being emitted, and that is going to affect the secretion of melatonin or pineal gland. That's the reason we said 1 hour before the bedtime. So remember, if we are having 8 hours, 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and your pineal gland tells you you have to wake up at 6, then it means you have to go to bed at 10. Screens have to be off at 9. Sorry, so you have to go backwards. That's how it is. And that's why, so play sport, limit screen time, go out, more sport activities, and obviously the weekends have to be spent out playing sports.
Maulana, but before that, I mean, the perspective that you were highlighting, there are two ecosystems. One ecosystem that Prophet Muhammad established, and we have come out of it. That particular ecosystem assures that, I mean, ultimately the value is in, you need to be, you can't just go for the extremes. I mean, it should be moderate and everything should be. But there is another ecosystem that we initially design. We become the part of that. We try to achieve the value. And when we say that the cost is higher than the benefit, then we abandon it. As it has happened with the family system, the individualistic society has designed an ecosystem. They started investing in it. And then ultimately they realized that the individualism problem, it has adverse effects on the society and this and this. Now they invest billions of dollars to, make the things. So it's a choice science. Whether we want to be the part of this ecosystem that is bringing all these things, or we just want to be the part of that ecosystem that was established by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And you can still see it in many other countries. People living in the villages, maybe they are getting better value. People living in the remote areas where they don't do this, maybe the ecosystem that they are the part with, it delivers better value. They end up their ages by 93 or 95. Look at the Maharajas, look at some other. How many of those Maharajas have interacted with the screens? Probably never. So it's a choice science. We compromise. Yeah, Jazakallah. Coming to the second point, now because we have chosen this ecosystem and we are the part of this, partly been explained. But the other thing is moderation. Achievement is innate, and you can diversify the scale of the achievement. For example, one achievement is that when you are having a question in your mind and then suddenly you go to the screen and then look at one of the things, this is going to tell me the solution of that. That is one where the achievement is achieved. There's another way of having the achievement, and that is spending time with the family. It's innate that when father looks at the son, when son looks at the father or mother and spend time with the kids, they always feel an achievement. And it's that same, hormone that is released. It's the same function. And then again, if you go to the sport, brother Haider and brother Khaki, so it is the design. I mean, if you're asking your child to work on the computer for 2 hours, maybe there's a way of designing several other activities that deliver the sense of achievement. For example, spending 4 hours with them in a day, maybe half an hour. And then again, you can come up with the intervention strategies. For example, 20, 20, 20 rules. After every 20 minutes, like you need to just, stand up from the computer, go 20 steps, and then see something that is 20 meters away. So it means you need to see. Eyes are meant to see the 3D, not 2D. So there are these sort of several strategies that you can find on a Google, and I have practiced it. There was a time when I was deeply dealt with the research things and papers, because they used to give me some sort of sense of achievement, and then I realized that it's not good. And then I stick with the 20-20-20 rule, and it helped me a lot. Since then, I'm not using Facebook, and these days, since Ramadan, that was the last thing. Since Ramadan, first Ramadan, I didn't use Facebook. And it has brought pleasure, because I'm now having achievement from, helping my PhD students and few other instances that have been created. So Jazakumullah.
Thank you so much.
Mine is a kind of like an idea, not exactly a question. I was thinking like how I used to spend my time when I was a teenager. We all used to spend time playing with our friends, right, or cousins. But here there is no such opportunity. We don't have joint families. We don't live close by together. But just as today, we have this movie night, and a lot of kids are gathered together here. So if every day, like we have, say, like for certain age group, 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, if we have like Monday, 0 to 5 age group will have game night. They will just before Maghrib, so that like they gather, play for half an hour to 1 hour, and then also pray namaz, and then so that way, like at least 1 or 2 days in a week, they will be away from the screen time. Just a suggestion for a committee to consider.
Next question, please.
My children are all grown up, so I'm talking about myself. So when I pick up my iPhone to look for the time or the temperature, there is always something interesting popping up. That's the problem, and it's so interesting and so much close to the subjects I go into that you feel interested to go into it. So I have blocked my YouTube, but I don't know up till now how to block the TikTok. So I'd like to find out, because that's wasting a lot of time. But it gives me an idea that perhaps time has come that we need another device which will give me the essentials like time, alarm, temperature and things, and it will not be an iPhone.
Just a little comment on your comment. It's an ecosystem. Again, it's the matter of looking at the value. Maybe after 50 years, when the kids of these designers, they go and get the adverse effects and all of this stuff, they start thinking, as they have started thinking about the family and all that stuff, the individualistic society is turning back towards the collectivist society. They are getting the benefits. So ecosystem may be changed. So you're right.
Okay.
Thank you. Beautiful content. And I've got a question for Brother Muhammad Naki. Amazing presentation, of course. One suggestion and one question. Suggestion is about, we have been talking about alternates. Curiosity Stream. I'm not sure how many have heard about it. Amazing. $40 for the whole year. And it is full of content in terms of documentaries. Very interesting. Amazing content that we watch as a family together on the big TV. And it is not just National Geographic or Universe. It's a lot more than that, like a future electronic aircraft, future cities, how it will be built, etc., etc. Anyway, so that was one suggestion, Curiosity Stream, inshallah. And second question is about the YouTube. YouTube is quite challenging. A lot of good content that the kids do to learn stuff and girls from cooking. So how do you manage that part of that education part?
So with YouTube, like I do agree, there is a lot of beneficial content on there. and I also use YouTube quite a bit to learn, new things. I would suggest watching it as a family in a safe environment. So for example, at the end of the day, before the kids go up to bed, we'll sit down, we'll turn YouTube on, and we might watch a travel video about Iran. So you pre-select it, and YouTube then learns what you watch. So it'll give you more suggestions similar to that, That's one way. The other way is to try and empower your kids to make the right choices and the right decisions, and I think this is more powerful, where you sit down, you speak with your child and say, look, do you see this guy? He just swore in the video. Is that nice? And your child will say, no, it's not nice, right? So maybe it's better you don't watch it, or you find another video to watch. Simple. And you let them make that choice.
Can I add just a bit of that? There's a very famous theory, if you put on Google, theory of planned behavior. None of the behaviors are just random. Kids just don't come to the screen randomly. There are always antecedents to it. And they always come with the planning. And this planning happens at 3 levels. Number 1, social norms. Whatsoever is happening around the home and in the society, they take the impact. Second thing, behavioral control. If they have the control over you can't think about buying a Ferrari because you don't have enough resources and control over the resources that are necessary to buy the Ferrari. That's why you always think about the Camry. So behavioral control is the second antecedent to the attitude that leads to intention, which intentions lead to the behavior. And the third thing, anticipated positive and negative emotion. And again, it comes back to the sense of achievement. If people feel that the certain behavior would give them some sort of a sense of achievement, then they would do that. If you educate them, as Brother Naqi says, that this action is not going to give you some sort of achievement, rather you would be, so avoidance behavior will be happening. So choose friends who do not use, whose kids are not using screen like 24/7. Choose friends who are religious and where the practices are. It's your choice. Again, behavioral control, bring the things in the home that suffice your requirement to run a good life. Third thing is, again, keep on educating, as all of us discussing. If you have educated yourself, then you would be able to educate. If I'm convinced on something, then it's a Quran which says, don't say to your kids if you are not able to do that. That's all. That's what my point is. Yep.
Thank you. Another question, Bilal.
This was a great content, and everybody, presented very well. And first of all, I would like to thank Mohammadi Welfare for this great effort. So I have a couple of questions. Like, first one is, what would be the right age of a child to have his or her own mobile phone? And if you want to say no to your child, how do you answer, and what is the best response to them? Like, they will be satisfied, and we should also.
So to answer that question, there is a growing movement in America, right, with Christian parents there who are suggesting not to give phones to children under 13. Okay? Now, there's no right or wrong answer for what age, right? Because each child is different. Their maturity levels are different, So if you do need to give your child a phone, you can just do what I've taught you how to do, and you can lock everything down. So they just have the basic phone and SMS. And that gives them some satisfaction that, I've got a phone. Because sometimes it's peer pressure. If all their friends have a phone and they don't have a phone, then they'll feel like they're the odd one out. That, my parents are so mean to me that they haven't given me a phone. Say, okay, Baba, no worries, here's the phone. But it's an old phone and it's all locked down. That's what I've done with my kids, so you could do that. But try and delay it as much as possible. And if you do give them a phone, make sure you activate the screen time app and features so that they're not using their phone for anything and everything and at any time. So you've got everything locked down.
One little thing that the implied part of your question that talks about, it seems a bit awkward when you say your son, but it refers to a very interesting paper that I read, which tells that when you don't reach office in time, it seems that they are going to, the boss is going to ask you why you are late after 2 or 3 days. So doesn't it seem awkward? When he enters into the operation theater, he needs to keep his mobile out of. Why? He is afraid of losing his job. And if I go to my supervisor, my PhD candidature, I really need to keep the video turned on. Why? Because if I feel that it's unethical, and plus I'll be held accountable about it. When there are so many restrictions that we impose because of the fear of losing something, this strategy or this logic can be applied to the home as well. You know what they are going to lose, and that's why you're setting up the rule, and that's all.
Thank you. Next question.
Hassan, very timely topic and a challenging topic indeed. Just for Brother Naki's presentation, there was a couple of things that I have used, particularly when it comes to YouTube. And one of the major distracting factors in YouTube particularly is the ads and the related videos that come on. A lot of the time they are unrelated and deliberately unrelated. So to switch off the ads, there's other 2 ways of doing that. One is the Google, it's a minor paid account. It's not expensive at all. I'm sure everyone can afford it. That's one suggestion. The second thing is also, there are free alternatives, but they're not really fully legal free alternatives, but there are ways of, bypassing, not getting any ads at all. There's that option. And then to turn off the related videos completely and to turn off autoplay. That helps a lot as well, because one video jumps to the other, to the other, to the other, and you're just being forced into the addiction of it. Just some suggestions.
Yeah, Hassan, very good. Just ads in general, even on TV, they're really bad. Like you could be watching MasterChef with your family, right? And the ad comes on, and it's the most explicit thing that you would never watch. You would never watch this show. The first second after it goes to the ad, it shows you this explicit imagery, and your children are around you, and So with live TV, I try and not watch live TV with my kids and my family. I'll always watch a pre-recorded where I'm in control and I have the forward button. And if you have Foxtel, you can record it. Or like you said, if you're watching YouTube, you can just purchase a subscription and have ad-free YouTube.
So we have 3 minutes more. Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum. So first of all, thank you very much for all presenters sharing knowledge in your area of expertise. There is another aspect actually I have witnessed, that's like, well, when you are putting a lot of control or doing whatever way, I believe every parent is trying to control their kids and save actually and protect their kids from all the bad sides of the world. But when the kids grow and they pair up with other people and go to university, and then there's another aspect coming that like the parents have been controlling them. They accept that, yes, you wanted us to be in a safe and protected environment, but on the other hand, you were controlling them, which was not good. We are free souls. Why we are trying to control us?
So that is so true. So it is so true. You just can't implement a policy without educating the people and without educating and informing them about the benefits. It's a change management, which starts with education. Brother Baz was saying the most important presentation. I would say it's not the case. He was talking about the implementation of the technology, but prior to that, there's the behavior change science. Brother Heather talked about the medical aspects, which was a part of the education. I talked about the consumer. Everything is so important. It's not like that you will just get the tools, you will implement it, and you will have the rebellion, you will have the repulsion, you will have the, people will be out. They will be just giving a phone call to the departments and the people will come and they take it away. You can't do that way. I 100% agree. That's why Prophet Muhammad first 40 years, he did not implement. He didn't actually put any, unfortunate hudud or these sort of things. He kept on educating the people. So education is the only way to design the motivation that the kids have to stay away or, employ the avoidance behavior.
Thank you. A question from a sister.
Assalamu alaikum. I've got a question, as Suhail Bhai mentioned, about the kids that are already grown in a phase of, say, 10 to 12, 15. My question is more about on the age group of 5 to 9, where kids are more, I would say, as a peer pressure when they really want to see a YouTube or a TikTok because their friends are seeing. So what one suggestion that you guys can give to tell this age group, how can we not use, and what's the benefit of not, what one suggestion as a parent when we talk to them, obviously introducing the privacy and that sort of things, but one suggestion that I could talk to my son especially and say, this is not good for you. So just one suggestion if you could. Thank you.
So it's really hard at that age because they don't understand what you're trying to tell them. Okay, so the understanding is very limited, and they will just see it as my mom is being mean to me, okay, and she's depriving me. So what you need to try and do is create another alternative distraction, another alternative, okay? Or, right, if it's really that like important to the child to watch a certain type of video, find another platform where this video exists. Like, for example, if you don't want your child to watch a cartoon show on YouTube, okay? Because of the alternate videos and whatnot. Get that video on Netflix, for example. That way, you know what's on Netflix. You can go into the children's platform. It's all like children's related content. You can even set up the profile for certain age groups on Netflix. And you tell your child, all right, you have half an hour to watch any show you want on Netflix. To give them an alternative away from YouTube and away from TikTok, right? And it may take 1 day, 2 days, 3, depends on the child. It might take a week, but you have to persevere. You have to be persistent. Don't give up, because your child is looking for any window of weakness and he will exploit it. She will make sure that she's like, oh, my mom will give in. If I whinge for 10 minutes, my mom is just going to get tired because she's busy and she'll just say, okay. Right? So you have to really, you have to be strong and give them an alternative. It can't just be a dead set no. Don't, no, okay? Give them an alternative. How about you watch this or that? Give them a suggestion. That's mine.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we are sure so we can take only 2 questions. One,
Okay.
Zarba and Asad.
Sure, not a problem.
Oh, you
So
have?
I don't have a question, just one
After him.
suggestion, and I'm just thinking out of the box at the moment and just going back 50 years back. So my suggestion to all the parents, buy books, simple books, read books, buy the books for your kids as well, okay? Not digital books, the actual physical books. Read books before you're going to bed, right? That is the best thing you can do for you and for your kids as well. It has lots of benefit. I don't want to go into details, but I just want to go to simple thing. If you start practicing reading books before you're going to bed, you will never have these problems we have discussed today. As simple as that. So that is one of my suggestions, but thank you very much for all of the contents and the presentations. Thank you very much.
Intezar, this is such an important thing. Ecosystem, better ecosystem exists. The Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he developed an ecosystem that was the best of every time. It's not that, and still there are communities who are involved in those ecosystems. The best thing is, as Intezar mentioned, it is one aspect, but from 5 to 9, the sister mentioned, from 5 to 9, that's the foundation year for developing their psychology and behaviors. Introduce an alternative ecosystem to them that you can read even without the screens. The books are available. It's just a matter of doing a bit of hard work, which will further improve your well-being, because you will be going to the library and you will be having the walk and back is good again. So ecosystem, the whole ecosystem, why I'm referring, that more hard work you take on your shoulder, it gives you more benefits in terms of a health. So think about the different ecosystem that exists. We can still take some of the components from there.
Thank you, sister. Please.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for the great presentation. It was really nice. I have a question from Brother Naki. I know in your presentation you mentioned Roblox. My 7-year-old has been asking me if she can download Roblox and play, because apparently all of her classmates play Roblox. I haven't done my research onto exactly what it is, but I've heard from my friends that it had some online conversation with other people around the world. If you can tell me exactly what it is, I know you probably have done the research on what is Roblox. She's 7-year-old. I haven't allowed her to play any online games or anything like that. But she continues to just ask me or my friends whenever they play after school and things like that. So what I've told her is that it has some adult things in there. That's why I'm not letting you play. So she hasn't asked after that, but I just want to know what exactly is Roblox.
So Roblox is it's like it's a coding world where kids can, or anyone can actually go in there and create a world, right? Like a house or a building or a gameplay, right? And in the actual game, it's an online game. So you're playing with, like you're in, for example, let's say you're in a hall, and in the hall, in the game, right? It's first player view. You're seeing other players who are strangers. Now you don't know who they are, right? So the way to put it to your child is, would you go and speak to a stranger on the street? No, right? They won't speak to a stranger. Would you play with a stranger like an adult at a park? You wouldn't, right? So in these apps, yes, you can create a world that only your friends are in, for example, but it doesn't exist on Roblox. It's open for everyone. So you're potentially playing with strangers, and you're potentially also, they could chat with you. They could, and they could pretend that they're kids, The dangerous part about Roblox, although, is that there are some hidden aspects, like it's like a hidden treasure inside the world, right? It's really hard to explain, but it's very explicit imagery, okay? That Minecraft is completely safe, okay, for kids. So Minecraft is I was going to offer that is the alternative, I went through like a good year of having this debate with my son until he finally gave up, and his friends they gave up on Roblox, because he ended up telling them how bad Roblox is, right? And he told them, why don't we play Minecraft? It's very important to try and give them an alternative,
I have last two questions from audience, and if Abbas ask or pick up 2 or 3 people from the mail. And my first question, drawing on Brother Heather's talk, very helpful and valuable talk, and principally aligned with the Prophet Muhammad's routine in the Sirat. Sleep is so important. When most of our programs are finishing somewhere around 11, including our programs in Ramadan and all the stuff, what's the possibility? Number one. Number two, I would request Abbas to pick up 5 people and ask them what would they do first once they go back home. So any answers from any of them? If the ecosystem of this city or this country doesn't allow us to go back home until 11 or even 10, if we reach 10, I mean, it takes almost 1.5 hours to 2 hours to sleep. It's 12. And all the information that Heather has presented and aligned with the Sirat of Aimma and Rasul, how we can get the value? That's my question. And second one, again, I have mentioned.
Sorry, we are running out of time. I just need to take 2 more questions. Concluded? Yeah, we can ask him.
Yeah, he's got a question.
So, like, in the before days, like, there was still some games like Atari and that, and like before there was like still something you can play, and like before there was no discussion, and now there's this discussion. Like, what has changed? Why is that? Yeah, like why is that?
It's just the technology of today. It's giving us all these options and all these advanced features, So if you saw someone with a brand new iPhone, yeah, and your dad bought you a Nokia, you don't even know what a Nokia is, but he just bought you like an old phone, right? One of my students actually has an old phone it's not a smartphone. All his friends laugh at him, and he pulls it out, and he even laughs at himself, But what would you choose? Would you choose something old, or would you choose something new and advanced? You would choose something new, right? Yeah? Would you support Messi as a soccer player, or would you support Maradona? Messi. You don't know who Maradona is, right? You'll support what's new, what's the latest, what everyone else is doing. So it's natural. You want to do what all your friends are doing, otherwise you'll be the odd one out. Right or wrong? Does that answer your question? Thank you. Asad, last question.
Sorry. Thank you so much. The question is related to the screen timing. Is there like we can differentiate the screen timing versus the screen fun time? For example, like we have in most of the school, like we know, even now after COVID, we have online classes for many things, even the Quranic classes online. So all these included in a screen time, right? But similarly, if you go like 50 years back and someone is saying that reading the books is good, but point is, at that time reading the book, now we have the books easily available. But at that time when we are doing the reading the book, maybe there was an issue with the eyes at that time also. And same with here, if we have the books, if we are spending the time on the screen by reading the books and we are getting the books easily, similarly watching some documentaries which will basically enhance your cognitive skills, right? Is it considered like, I mean, can we say that yes, is it okay to have this one up with all those things which Dr. Heather was saying, that yes, you have to go out, take some break, go outside, come again. Similarly, what we are doing, exactly the kids are doing the same thing. But if they're spending their times on playing games, as you just mentioned, some social media stuffs, on that, if we can put some locks over there, like durations, or maybe completely we can say with the age gaps or age groups, we can just block that, that's fine. But if we want to avoid completely, like put the locks on the screen time completely, I'm not sure, like even with the schools, and what about, I agreed with the ecosystem, but that is the ecosystem unfortunately we are living in at the moment, right? So even the books, I mean, I remember you were saying that you have like an access for a big library. I mean, I think that is not like the hard books, right? It's electronic books you will have. So my only point is like,
So 3 minutes. Yeah, so you have only, I'll give you
it's basically explanation as well.
You can set up app categories on the screen time. So you can say, all right, these are games, and I have a limit of 1 hour for the games. Productivity, school-related apps, no limit, for example, for studies, for reading books. Yeah.
I disagree. Heather will also talk about, but the screen time has its own impact on your brain functioning. Many old people hardly use any of the games which are based on the fun, but they stay on the screen for almost 8 to 9 hours or 10 hours. So screen time, as I mentioned in my slides as well, has its own adverse impact on the brain, the cognitive thinking, emotional thinking, which is called peripheral path. All the peripheral path that starts with the perception, it affects perception, mood, emotion, then affect, then attitude, then belief, then life, personality and lifestyle. This is the peripheral path. And the cognitive path, which Heather has explained, it's all about calculations. So supreme thinking, which is cognitive, and the peripheral path, that it affects that as well.
Okay, just last few things, even being a parent, a couple of things. I think if we start to implement age 7 or age 10 or age 12, it's going to be very hard. Everything starts under 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is the most important. That's the reason I've played a couple of slides there as well. So if our kids who are 1 or 2 years old are exposed to any kind of content, it's going to be very hard at the age of 5, 6, 7. No, you have to stop it. So everything starts 1, 2. That's the reason there should not be any screen time 1 or 2 or anything else, and then gradually introduce. So one thing is very important. It has to start early. It's a gradual process. Number 1, we did not touch on, I did not touch about content. So content on its own is a huge study. It probably needs another 2 or 3 hours to discuss about it. What our studies where they said they did not talk about content at all, that was only a screen time. So if your screen time was say 5 or 6 hours or so, risk of obesity is high, risk of heart disease is high. So they did not talk about any of the content at all. These are two things. Third thing is always put a limit. Whatever they're watching, say after 30 minutes, that's what I try to say, that after 30 minutes, this has to stop, and then we'll do something else. Fourth thing, which we started when our first one was born, that, from 1st of Muharram until 9th of Rabiul Awwal, they're not going to play any Cartoon Networks at all. Alhamdulillah, that has worked really well. It means for 2.5 months, 3 months, they're not exposed to anything else. So these are the few things that you can make rule. Again, more sporting activity. So this is finding a balance. If you have more sporting activities, they're already tired, it's time for us to go to bed. And if they want to watch anything, one of the sisters was saying, what do we need to do? Watch as a family together. Okay, that's fine. It was good. It was informative. I think it's what we call it, you can't stop. This is a reality. That's what my belief is. It is a reality. This is life we are living in. We're going to have that Apple device coming next year. This is virtual technology where you put it on your eyes and you go out, and that will absolutely floating left, right, and center. That's going to be next year, would be launched. So that's the life we are living. How we manage it, it means moderation, and try to control, or I would say not a control, regulation is the best way to do it. It's not a control, maybe says we are controlling this thing, it's how to regulate this, how to minimize the effect, how to minimize the harm so they get the benefits.
Thank you so much. So this was the last question. We will conclude with, actually we all agree that children have an intense desire to learn. They want to explore things, to build capabilities and confidence. They want to succeed, and they want to share their stories with the friends and families they live with. On the screen, thank you so much, all of you, for attending this seminar and listening to the expertise talk. I'm sure definitely you must have taken something good as takeaway and implement within your families based on the feedback from the audience that I have got so far. If you want to check the internet usage statistics, it's the blog gitnext.com. It's on the screen. If you want the copies of the presentations, then gents, you have the number. Most of you have my number, so just drop me your email. I'm going to give you access to the Google Drive. For ladies, Naba is there, and her number is there, and my email as well. Just drop me an email with your email, and I'm going to share them 3 copies of the presentations. Please do provide feedback to Muhammadi Welfare Organization. Email is muhammadiwelfare@gmail.com. So they get a true feedback from the audience point of view. Main areas are content, delivery, utility or benefits, and of course, refreshments. Thank you all. Good night.